Welcome into Rounding the Bases.
Rounding the bases. Everybody knows Joe Goldberg. It's around the bases. Everybody knows Joe Goldberg.
Welcome into Rounding the Bases, presented by Community America Credit Union, invested in you. Shout out to my friends at Chief of Staff Kansas City. If you're looking for a job, looking for a resource, looking to hire someone, I partner with them because of their strong belief in people and culture. Check them out, chiefofstaffkc.com, making connections that matter. I've got a phenomenal connection today. You know, some ideas start small, others spark movements. And today I'm joined by a guest who is turning pages into progress. Chris Clinard is the founder of Books for Guys, an initiative built on the simple yet powerful belief that the right book at the right time can change a life. What began as a mission to encourage reading has evolved into a community developing stronger, more thoughtful leaders. By getting books into the hands of young men across the country, Chris is redefining what it means for men to invest in themselves, because one book is all it takes to change everything that comes after. I've been really looking forward to this because I think it's a different message than we usually hear, meaning that sometimes us guys forget about this stuff. Chris, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm excited to be with you, Joel. It's been a good week. As I was telling you, obviously I'm wearing my Arkansas Razorback hat. Yeah. I know when this episode comes out, you know, the tournament will be over, but it's Sweet 16 week. And
let the record state that if they win it all, Chris was there from the beginning.
That's right. That's right. It'll be, I'm planting my flag. So no, it's been a great week, Joel.
Good. So there's so much that I want to talk to you about in your background, but let's just start. A lot of times I'll build to, you know, the big piece of the story, but I want to get right to it because it feels to me, and by no means am I suggesting, and I don't know, like I'll be curious your thought on this. I'm not suggesting guys don't read. I mean, some women don't read, some men don't read. Some men are voracious readers. Some women are voracious readers. I think, and tell me if I'm wrong on this, that there's something about book groups, book clubs, that I think women in general do better with that community, that sharing, that vulnerability that oftentimes we as men forget. It doesn't mean that we're not reading. I mean, if we are, we are. If we're not, we're not. It means we're not congregating to talk about that. We might be congregating to talk about the Arkansas basketball game, or I don't know, politics, hopefully not, or whatever. Am I on to something? Is that right?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right, Joel. And that's, you know, kind of a funny story. Books for Guys was born out of a client meeting of mine where a lot of the clients I meet, I'm in sales. And so a lot of the clients I meet with, we talk about two things. Usually it's sports, number one, but then it's books, number two. And a lot of the individuals I meet with are male. And I'll never forget one guy, I don't know if he was a director or VP, but he was like, man, you know, the ladies have all these book clubs and these wine and book night and some get-togethers and communities, like you said. And he was like, man, there's not a lot of places out there for the guys or the men. And I was like, you know, you're right. And he challenged me. He said, man, Chris, you should make something. And I was like, all right, Books for Guys. Here we go. Let's do it.
I know it's become such a passion of yours, and then we'll work back towards it. But what I like about it is, first off, reading can be for anyone. Like there's always been a stereotype that the jock is what? The dumb jock, right? As if anyone that's an athlete isn't book smart or isn't interested in books, or as if, we'll take it the other side, the computer scientist, the quote unquote stereotypical nerd or geek couldn't possibly like sports. Like, you know, this is all available to all of us, to what we're interested in. I would argue that reading can and should be available to all of us. Now, for you or whoever, it might be self-help books. It might be mysteries. It might be romance novels. It might be self-help, whatever it is, right? That whatever your interest is. And oh, by the way, nowadays, if you don't want to sit and flip through a book, you can read it on a Kindle, or you could listen to audio. I know a lot of super smart people that are like, I just do better when I listen to it. Yeah. I know other people that are like, I can't pay attention for more than a minute. So the beauty is it's all there for us. But I bring all that up because you would have been one of those quote unquote dumb jocks, right? Here's a former college athlete that again, I think, like I'm always, I'll see guys on the Royals or any team for that matter, walking around or reading a book. And it's like, yes, it's there for everyone too. Did you always have this love of reading? I mean, I'm guessing growing up, you had this passion to want to play sports at the highest level.
Yeah. No, great question. I love that you mentioned seeing athletes with books. I think it's becoming a little more popular. I was thinking of even like Bijan Robinson of the Falcons.
Yeah.
He's got a big book following. But no, Joe, I mean, as a high school athlete and working hard to become a college player and get a scholarship, reading wasn't something that was on the forefront of what I enjoyed doing. I always tell people I didn't hate reading. I had great English teachers and I read books in middle school and high school, but it wasn't something I was passionate about or really took. I don't know. I didn't feel like I got a lot of value from it, but that's kind of part of the message of Books for Guys is during that time, I wasn't really reading a lot of books that I was actually interested in. They were books that teachers were telling me to read. They were requirements. College was the same way for the most part. But what kind of flipped is when I actually did read a book that I was genuinely interested in picking up. And that's when kind of the journey began of me being like, holy cow, man, this is awesome. Like I took so much from this book. And I always say the book that started it for me was Tony Dungy's book. I'll think of the title here in a second. Quiet Strength. That was the first book that I read. It was funny, Joel. I was actually in college. I was redshirting at Arkansas State, so I couldn't play. All I could do was practice that year, and I was sitting in my apartment by myself on a Friday night while the rest of the team traveled. I had transferred in. I didn't know anybody there. And I saw this book that my grandma gave me, Tony Dungy book, and I was like, you know what? I'm bored. I'm going to pick it up and read it. And I finished it that weekend. And then that is when the journey began of curiosity of, hey, I learned a lot about coaching. I learned a lot about leadership. A lot of stories about players because I was genuinely interested, obviously, in football and sports. But then that led to another leadership book and another coach's book and reading about players. And then that led into financial books and personal development books. And then it just kind of started rolling. But yeah, it all started with me actually picking up a book that I was interested in reading, which took quite a long time because I didn't do that in middle school and high school and early college. It took a long time for me to actually to pick that book up.
Yeah. So what was the career path coming out of college, and then how did this develop? I mean, you gave a little bit of a taste of that inspiration, but I mean, what maybe started as a little bit of inspiration has become, I think, some of your life's work, at least. I mean, I know how passionate you are about it because I experienced it being on your podcast, and I hear it in your voice every time you talk about it with just this deep passion that everyone should have for something that they love doing and their work. But where were things when you got out of school?
Yeah. So got out of school, and I've always been a people and relationship person, and so immediately went into sales. And I've been in the recruiting space for a little over a decade now. So helping companies find talent, helping find talent roles at companies we work with. And so being on the sales side, obviously meeting with a lot of hiring managers, people that make decisions. And like I said, it was as a young guy, I'm always looking for mentors to learn from and ask questions from. And so very blessed to have a lot of people pour into me. And a lot of those conversations revolved around books I should read, whether that be sales books or personal development. You know, how can I fine tune my craft? And so thankfully I've always been receptive to that and hungry to grow and learn. And so the Books for Guys conversation just kind of genuinely came up. Like I said, in that discussion where someone said, hey man, you should create something for the guys. And it, and in my role, I got a little flexibility and to build something, on the side like this. And I was like, I've always wanted to have an impact in some way positively. And the more I just thought about this, I was like, man, there's something here with Books for Guys that I'm not finding anywhere else. I'm not seeing this community anywhere else. And as someone who can tell the story of I didn't enjoy reading, I was an athlete. Now I understand the importance of it and how much benefit and how it can elevate your life and your career. maybe I am the one that can put this together and build this community out and do something positively with it. Maybe I can get involved with schools and athletic programs and do all these things that I've always wanted to do on a big scale. And maybe this is the platform that we can get that done with.
Yeah. So it started as a little bit of, an interest, and now has become, as I said, such a deep passion. What, like, big picture, looking at this thing, big picture, ideal world, where would you love to see this thing go?
Yeah, no, great question, Joel. I think about it every day, and I'm working towards it every day. So I'm glad you asked that. But, in-game goal, and it's not even in-game, it's just the level I'm trying to get to, is I would love to get to a number of, or I shouldn't say number, a spot to where we're working with college athletic programs or professional programs and organizations, to where we have athletes promoting books. And I would love, Joel, for my full-time job to be every single week I'm going to a different state and taking out a high school football team to the local bookstore and saying, like, hey guys, I don't care what book you get something you're interested in, and we're going to get it for you. So if you want to be the next Tom Brady or Peyton Manning, let's get his book. If you want to be Kobe Bryant or learn how Kobe became Kobe, let's do that. You want to build a business, you want to be a millionaire by the age of 30, let's go find a business book that has a blueprint that you can dive into and use your interest to get you to where you want to go. And so, yeah, Joel, I'd love to work with just big organizations and be able to have that trickle down to where, again, every week I can be a blessing by maybe putting something into a young man's hands that helps them start their growth journey a little bit earlier than a lot of us probably did. And just how can I help get that impact and get it started earlier?
Yeah. I think, this isn't just an athlete thing. And it's not just a guy thing, by the way, either. I mean, there are plenty of women that'll be listening to this that I think will echo what I feel like. I don't have time. It's not that I don't want to read. And as the days, months, years have gone by, we've been distracted in other ways. And that's just as adults. I mean, I'm older than you, but as adults, it's like there's still, you go listen to your music on wherever streaming device, and YouTube and Netflix, and not really for me, it passed me by, but for the younger generation, boys and girls, video games. And, we lament, I think, certainly my generation, the absence of what we grew up with, which was just going outside and playing, going out in the neighborhood until your mom called you in for dinner. And that doesn't exist. Well, it was replaced by video games and by Snapchat and social media and all these things. And it's like the reading's still there for us. And I don't know how much you've delved into this, but I think that there's something with the mental health too, where it could slow you down. Oh, by the way, you're also being stimulated and learning at maybe a little bit of a more manageable pace than what all those dopamine hits are. I know that's true, but it's hard to break those habits, not just for men.
Yeah. No, and I'm glad to go back to the first thing you said there, Joel. While it is called Books for Guys, it's not books from guys per se. We've had a lot of female authors and business leaders and entrepreneurs and doctors and lawyers on our podcast, and who have joined in and said, like, hey man, we love what you're doing. Like, this is important. And so a lot of ladies follow what we're doing as well, and they support us. And so I want to say thank you for that. But yeah, it's there's a lot of and I do all those things too. I watch movies and I'm on my phone looking at Instagram and such. But you're right. There's such a good feeling when you're reading something or listening to an audiobook, and it kind of sparks some critical thinking, or it gets you a little more deeper into a zone to where, I don't know, it sparks creativity, it sparks certain thoughts. And that's another message I share about Books for Guys, and just kind of my personal journey, is the importance of opening yourself up to new ideas or learning about new people. And as I was mentioning, I started reading about people a lot. I love biographies and autobiographies. And I challenged myself to read books about people that maybe I thought I either didn't like, I disagreed with. But then after I'd read their books, I was like, man, we're actually more alike than we think we are, and actually really like this person's message, or learning the backstory of someone's life and the struggle they had to get to where they're at. You appreciate what they do a little bit more. And so I found myself pausing a lot more in the way I think about things or people or situations, and books can do that because it's this long form of information that you get a deeper sense of knowledge from, instead of a quick, an Instagram video or a newsreel to where all of a sudden it triggers a thought one way or another. But if you can sit down and really dive in deeper, it just leads to just a more informational, in-tuned, it just well rounds you a lot better. And so that's another thing I encourage people is, it's just part of, again, the overall message of Books for Guys and the importance of it.
The website, by the way, is great. And I would also suggest that you don't have to be a guy.
Yeah.
I use the term guys, hey guys, all the time anyway. So you could look at it that way. But to the greater point of helping out, the boys, the men. But when I look at the website, it's books4guys.com, the number 4, books4guys.com. There's a great quote on there from a woman, J.K. Rowling, aka the Harry Potter series. If you don't like to read, then you haven't found the right book. And I'll say this too, and later on I'll get to some favorites for you. But the website itself is a phenomenal resource of suggestions. And hey, you might even find small ball big results and small ball big dreams on there if you're looking for that. But the book that I'm reading right now, that I think I tried to read years ago, but I just wasn't ready for it. But I'm at a stage of my life and going through just personal growth, I believe, that has me in a place to fully grasp this, is The Alchemist. And so I was just curious. I'm like, I wonder if that's on the website as we're talking. Because I just dove back into it in the last 48 hours, and I'm feeling it. It's resonating with me because I'm actually starting to understand. And I don't want or need to make this a podcast about alchemy and all the deeper stuff that can move us. But that's where I'm at in my place in life right now. And so I punched it in. And I mentioned it because I think when I tried to read it years ago, I don't think I made it past a whole lot of pages. I didn't feel it. And now I'm like, I can't wait to get back to it. Yeah. And so I punched it into the website, and it listed it as a top 10 must read books for men that will change your life. And so I just think it's interesting. Like, how do you go about determining what's what, and how you're sort of curating this, I think what'll be a never ending menu of options for people.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you talk about your challenge of starting that book previously and now. I was actually talking with an author just yesterday who similar, he writes in a style and a format that's hard for me to grasp as a reader. But we were talking about the progression people take. As you read more and more, you start to crave something a little more challenging, to kind of challenge the way you think. And you got to read one page at a time instead of reading through 10 to 15, because you do have to digest it a little deeper and think about it. And so it's funny, we were talking about books specifically that we're doing that with. I've had similar ones where I'm like, I'm not ready, and then I am. Mm-hmm. But Joel, like I mentioned, the whole point of Books for Guys is to put as many options out there as possible, because people have so many different interests. I talk to a lot of like fantasy and science fiction authors, and I've never really been into that, but I know a lot of people are. And so I've challenged myself to read that and talk with those authors and put their books on the website, because there's so many people that find that interesting. Have a lot of friends who are interested in sports books, so we try to put a lot of sports books on there just for recommendation purposes. If someone's like, hey, I want to find a good sports book, what's next? They can go click on sports and find tons of options that give them an idea or maybe a recommendation. So a lot of the recommendations, they come from other people. Either they're business people, authors, people that get introduced to come on the podcast. We try to spotlight as many people as we can. But we try to find as many interesting genres and topics to put on there, just again, because so many people have different interests. And we don't want to tell you what to read. We just want to encourage you to read. So whatever that is, we're trying to put those books on the website just to provide options in case you're looking for something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going through it right now. And by the way, if you want to be a member, and I am, Chris had asked me, I think around when I was on his podcast, hey, if you'd be interested. And I'm like, I'll be honest, I was like, oh my gosh, another thing. And then I was like, wait, $30 a year, that's it?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, okay, $3 a month or $30. Yeah, okay, I'll do the $30. And so that's cool, because I really look forward to, and I don't even know if I was signed up for the mailing list or not. So I either double signed up or I just signed up right now to make sure that I'm in there, because, and again, there are a lot of places you can get it, but I just love how curated this is. And so if I go into right now, just your blog and on the website, booksforguys.com, and here's Reese Witherspoon's book club. Here's popular sci-fi and fantasy books, probably not of interest to me either. Then I go down to popular sports books. And I'm okay with a good sports book, but what I really love, and the one that you have there, is H.G. Bissinger's Friday Night Lights, which is one of my favorite, not just sports books, but books of all time. And I love the movie, and I love the show, which I know was different when we saw a very young Michael B. Jordan, now Oscar Award winner. That show was spectacular. But the book, and I interviewed H.G. Bissinger once, because he was, this was years ago, he was writing a book about Tony La Russa, and I was with the Cardinals, and so I got to meet him, and Billy Bob Thornton was with him. And I got to meet both of those guys and interview. There's something magical about that book. I'm just sharing it because if anyone hasn't read it, it's really not just a sports book. It is a book about community, about really, I'd say religion, because football down there in Texas is. And then you go down further, top 10 books for those who want to level up their life. I can tell you that Atomic Habits and James Clear have helped me change my life as a guy that is very unstructured, creating mandatory habits, non-negotiables. So I could go on and on. There's so many Tony Robbins on here, the Jordan Rules, Sam Smith. It's been years since I did that. And here's The Alchemist. So it's exciting to me to see all of that. And I know this is what you're getting at, because it's like going to a, I don't know the way to say this. It's like going to I don't do this really anymore, a cheesecake factory where the menu is never ending. I don't know. That's a bad way to say it, but you know what I mean? Like, there's something for everyone on here. And I'm going to guess for you too, that you get benefit out of this on an everyday basis.
Yeah. Yeah. And I got asked before, like, do you read every book on here? And I was like, I can't possibly read every single book that's on here, but they are all recommended, or we try to put, again, as many options as we can. And I did want to bring this up too. You talked about the membership, and thank you so much, Joel, for helping and being a community member at Books for Guys. And I love when I reach out to people who have books that I want to spotlight, and they're so refreshed. I guess a lot of people I'm not an author, so I don't know, but I guess a lot of authors or people get approached, and they have to, the requirement is they have to pay thousands of dollars to get their book spotlight or anything. And that's never the case at Books for Guys. We never require anything. What we do is we do ask people to consider becoming a Books for Guys community member, because that is the way we're able to purchase and give books away. And we want to purchase the books to also support the authors. So it's kind of a two-way street, that when we thought about this, it was like, hey, I don't want to ask a lot of people for just, hey, can you give me books so I can give them away? It's how can I support you? And then that we're supporting getting books into hands as well. So it's a double side. We also made the barrier to support very low, like you said, $30 a year or $3 a month. And the purpose behind that is, just so you know, so usually that helps with the purchase of 2 books. So each community member contributes to 2 books each year being purchased. You were asking about the big vision. My vision is to create a massive community of supporters with this, and everyone can feel like they're involved. So it's not one of those things where it's like, how can I maximize getting the most money as quickly as possible? It's how can we build a legit community of people who feel good about supporting, and you don't feel too stretched. I mean, $30 a year, that's less than a tank of gas right now for sure.
Yeah.
And maybe
might be less than lunch. I don't know.
Yeah, might be less than lunch. And so, yeah, our goal is to create, thousands and thousands of people who are supporting this. And we also do another cool thing, Joel, is when people support, those people have a voice in what we're trying to do. So, if you're a community member and you say like, hey, I know a school or a program or a team that may be interested in, getting books, we're always asking people like, hey, give us a teacher we can connect with, give us a coach we can connect with. This past fall, we started working with some high school football programs who they didn't have anyone sponsoring their Player of the Week award. So we decided, hey, why don't we do a Books for Guys Player of the Week award? The coaches pick the player gets to pick the book of their choice. It's good for the school. You get books involved. You guys get an award. So, and those were recommendations from people who were community members with us. So there's a lot that we're doing and a lot we're going to continue to do to make people feel involved and a part of that community. And so that's really exciting for us. And again, just wanted to explain how we try to benefit both the author and the folks we're trying to get books over to, just so it supports both sides.
Love it. So it's awesome. Every bit of it is awesome. All right, I want to get to my baseball themed questions. Biggest home run that you have hit now in your career? Is it starting Books for Guys? Is it something else? What is it?
Yeah, I'd say 100%, Joel, it's starting Books for Guys. And like I mentioned earlier, I've always known I've wanted to have an impact and wanted to build something that can have an impact. I didn't know anything about starting a website, running a website, doing a business, building a community. And so it's all been a learning process for me and a challenge, but a very good challenge that's taught me a lot of things along the way. And I'm still learning. But when I look back, it's one of the more prouder moments and prouder things I've done for myself is building this and actually seeing it work. And, I tell people, I can't wait to 3 years from now, 5 years from now, like what this is going to look like. And so, definitely starting Books for Guys and getting this thing rolling has been my home run.
I love it. Okay. Swing and a miss. And what did you learn from it?
Swing and a miss. Yeah. So this one's easy for me, Joel. So like I mentioned, I've been in sales for a little over a decade now. And I've had the opportunity to build my own office out where I got to implement leadership skills that I've learned from books or from other people. But my miss was, as a young leader, I allowed somebody that was a leader of me, supposed to be. We had two different approaches. I'm very much a positive, encouraging person. This person that I reported to is very different, very militaristic, fist pounding person. And I let that person's approach blend into mine, to where I started trying to be somebody I wasn't. And I'll never forget, Joe, I hired a lot of friends, a lot of people that worked hard with me, and we had a really good, office environment and really good work. And I remember one day coming in and trying to use that approach of that leader that we were so different on. And I'll never forget the look of the people that I was leading. They were looking at me like, what the hell are you doing, Chris? Why are you being like this? And it lasted one day. I remember driving home that day and I was like, Chris, no. This is not the way you're going to go about being a leader and being a good person. And so luckily those people, they still love me and we were great. But I'll never forget that lesson of like, I got to be true to myself. I've got to lead the way that I believe is right. If it's the Tony Dungy way and that, that's the way I want to go about it. But I'll never forget that, Joel. I drove home and I was like, man, that was a strikeout of a day.
and we learn from them, and that's
right.
That's the way you roll. That's right. How about small ball to you? What are the little things that lead to big results?
Yeah, 100% discipline, and I'm thankful I've got a wife that keeps us very disciplined. Whether that's with workouts, food, our work environment, how we operate, and especially with Books for Guys, waking up at 5 a.m. some days to make sure I get everything I need to done before my work, staying up a little bit later, getting to the gym, getting the dog walked. But I look back over 3, 6, 9 month increments and I think, wow, because we were disciplined during this time, here's where we're at. Let's keep doing it to see where we're at again in 6, 9, 12 months. So the discipline approach with everything is the small ball that is leading and will lead to big results.
Once an athlete, always an athlete. And before I get to my 4 final questions, I'll let you go a little further on the shout out. I guess it's good to be married to a former college athlete, as you are one yourself, right?
That's right. Yeah. So Shira, I was going to say she's also my home run, or if I've had a home run, she's the grand slam.
But I told you professionally. So,
yeah.
She's the only reason why I don't give the wives that much respect is I had a long run early on in this podcast when I started asking that question that everybody was talking about their husband or their wife. And I'm like, that's great. I don't mean to take away from it, but I need people to learn here about some of your journey. So,
yeah.
But I think that when you talk about some of that discipline too, and I think about that, I think you've got a daughter, I believe, right?
No kids. We've got a dog.
Oh, no kids. Okay. A dog. That's it. Okay.
Yeah.
I knew I saw something. Well, that could help too. If you're good at getting your dog out for a walk every single day and keeping your dog active. I'm trying to pivot on the spot with that one. I'm not as disciplined with that, which is why one of my dogs is looking at me right now.
When you work from home, you've got to wear the dog out so you can actually work.
That's right. And we're not doing a great job with the older one, but that might be why she's putting on weight. Okay, that's a whole nother story. Let me get to my 4 final questions as we round the bases. And the first one is going to be, a little bit of the obvious. No, I'll save that one for last, actually. Let's start with this. I noticed and saw that you studied abroad in Costa Rica. Is that true or no?
That's true.
Tell me about that experience.
Minored in Spanish. I think I'm 18 hours away from a bachelor's degree in Spanish. Joel, I can't speak a lick of it though. Me neither. I can understand it. And I'm sure you being around a lot of athletes that speak Spanish, you can probably pick up on some things.
A little bit.
I even moved to San Antonio after college for a year, thinking I would speak more Spanish, and no one ever talked to me in Spanish. So it's kind of a lost minor degree, I guess. But I did study in Costa Rica, and it was during the World Cup, so it was an amazing experience.
All right, second question as we round the bases. Tell me more. I know I was on it, but I always like to be able to give that shout out to fellow podcasters. Tell me more about the podcast.
Yeah, Books for Guys podcast. We host authors, entrepreneurs, business leaders, doctors. You don't have to have written a book. If you believe in the power of reading and it's elevated your career or life in a certain way, and then you've got a platform that we can share to encourage others, man, that's what it's all about. It's just spotlighting good people doing great things. And just, again, always talking about the power of books, and whether they wrote one like yourself, well, you've got 2. So like that, or you have books you can share that have meant a lot to you and that we can recommend to other people. You
going to write a book at some point?
It's in the back of my mind. There's some ideas. We'll see. Yeah. I
think the world would be a better place. Look, the world will be fine whether any of us write or not. I believe that. Maybe not the very highest level of authors that truly change the world, but we all have the ability to change the world with our words. And I'll just say, and I'm sure you've heard this from a lot of authors, which still sounds funny to call myself one. It sounds a little less funny after the second one, a little bit more. It's like, when you got married and it's like, wait, wife? Girlfriend to fiance to wife. And then you start to get used to it. So I'm a little more used to author now, but most authors, I'm not talking about maybe the J.K. Rowlings of the world, or I'm talking about the everyday guy like me and you. We know we have it in us. I think everybody at some point has said, I could write a book, or I couldn't write a book, but I'd like to write a book, or I haven't, whatever. Let me put it this way. I think everybody has a book in them because everybody has a story or someone else's story to tell. Most will never write it if they have any interest, because they're going to put it off, and they're going to put it off until everything is perfect. So my advice to anyone that's listening you included, I think you already know this, is at some point just go do it. Yeah. Just go do it. And it's like giving birth to something. I'm always careful. My wife reminds me of it. This is not child labor. It's not that difficult. Okay, I get it. But it's a creation. And it's so surreal when it comes into the world. I don't care if one person reads it, if it's just for your family or it's for, the masses out there. It's a transformational experience. So I would read it. I would love to see it if it ever happens.
Well, and to add to that, Joel, I just want to say I'm blessed to really have a cheat code on how to write a book. I'm talking to authors every single day and learning how to do this. And so you're right. I have no excuse. So at some point I've got to put one out there.
Yeah. And I would say it the other way too. I don't know if it's so much a matter of excuse. Sometimes it's the timing. Life is going on. It is a big commitment. But I think that a lot of what holds us back is our own minds. And, you just never know where it's going to go. Okay, third question as we round the bases. This will be nice and fun and lighthearted. We've been talking about guys aren't known as being readers, which is BS, of course. Not a lot of guys are known as being Swifties.
Yeah.
But you are, huh?
100%. I've been a Taylor Swift fan since day one. My friends in high school, I think they thought it was a joke. They used to get me her calendar every year for Christmas. And I think they thought it was funny, but I hung that thing up in my room. And everyone who knows anything about me knows I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan, and I've never had any shame about it. So that if anyone asks an interesting fact, I always tell them, hey, I'm a Taylor Swift guy, 100%.
I am. It's not that I'm not a Taylor. It's not that I'm not a Swiftie. I just wouldn't seek out her music, but if I hear it, I like it. Yeah. I hear it at the stadiums all the time. Her fiance is kind of a stud too. I'm a huge Travis Kelce fan. He's a really decent, good human being as well. And so, that makes it easy to root for both of them. But I like her music. I don't seek it out, but I've got a daughter that's a Swiftie and my wife likes Taylor Swift. And so if it's on, I'm happy to listen to it. It's not something that I turn away from. It's not something I seek out. But kudos to you for being a Swiftie. It's not just the girls and the women in this world that are Swifties. All right, fourth and final question. This is the big one. It could be one, it could be two, it could be five. A go-to book for you. What's that go-to read? Which is always a hard question to ask someone in something like this, because I know you could come up with hundreds of them.
Yeah, I'll toss out two books, Joel. So my number one is QBQ, Question Behind the Question by John Miller, which I was lucky enough to have him on the Books for Guys podcast as well a couple months ago. But I read it every January. It's a short read. It's really just a self-accountability book and just challenges yourself to be a servant leader. How can you help others? How can you be there for others? And if everybody takes that approach, just how much better an organization can be, our world can be, our lives can be when everybody says, how can I help? Instead of, poor me, why doesn't anyone help me? So it really changes your mindset. I give it away more than any other book. And obviously I've read it more than any other book. My second favorite book is the Tiger Woods book that came out about 4 years ago. Anyone who I know who's maybe a sports fan, this is like for that guy who maybe doesn't read a lot but loves sports or just anything. I always recommend the Tiger Woods book because it goes into just the way he thinks and how he became so great at his sport. And it talks about his dad and the way he grew up and how much he practiced. And so you learn a lot of things of just, again, why he is the way he is, like when you read a lot of books about people, but just how he became so great at the sport of golf. And it's just one of those, he's been the most elite athlete out there for so long. And so it's always, if you like sports or just learning about people, his story, I think, is one of the most fascinating ones. And I recommend that book a lot.
Yeah. And been to the top and down to the bottom. And so it's not, no story is simple. And so great suggestions there. Two very different books. And that's the beauty of all of this as well. I want to once again encourage everyone, books4guys.com, books, the number 4, books4guys.com. You can check out the podcast as well. Sign up and support. Chris, I'm so glad that we've been brought together. It was so much fun to be on your podcast, and thank you for supporting my books. and so great to have you on here today as well. The passion, it oozes from you. I know that this is such an important thing for you, and it'll help so many people along the way. So thanks so much for spending time today on Rounding the Bases.
Appreciate it, Joel. It's been an honor.
It's around the bases. Everybody knows Joe Goldberg.